What if everything you knew about Jesus' preparation for ministry was wrong? The Bible is completely silent about 18 crucial years of Christ's life, but newly translated papyrus texts from Egyptian monasteries describe a mysterious young Hebrew who studied the secret mysteries of the pharaohs, learned the ancient arts of healing, and mastered powers that would later astound Jerusalem. This wasn't just any student. Descriptions match Jesus perfectly. Tonight, we uncover the evidence that Jesus may have been trained by the same priest-magicians who once served in the temples of the gods. Throughout history, no mystery has sparked more curiosity than the lost years of Jesus Christ. From the 12-year-old child debating with scholars in the Jerusalem temple to the 30-year-old teacher emerging with miraculous powers, the 18 years in between remain completely in darkness. But this silence isn't accidental. The evidence we'll discover tonight shows that what Jesus learned during these missing years was so revolutionary, so dangerous, that the early Christian church was forced to hide it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss content like this. If you're ready, let's embark on a journey into the secret temples of ancient Egypt. The Gospels contain almost no information about Jesus' life after age 12. Is this normal? Ancient biographies typically covered every period from birth to death. So why is there such a massive gap regarding the world's most important figure? This question was first seriously posed by Western scholars in the 19th century. Russian traveler Nicholas Notovich claimed in 1887 to have discovered documents about Saint Isa from Tibetan monks in the Himalayas. But the real revolution began with discoveries made in Egypt in the second half of the 20th century. The Gnostic texts found at Nag Hammadi in 1945 contained shocking details not just about Jesus' teachings, but about his life. Most of these documents had been banned as heretical by the Church Fathers. But why? Ancient Egypt wasn't just the land of pyramids and pharaohs. Here existed a tradition of secret knowledge that lasted for millennia. In the temples of Heliopolis, Memphis, and Alexandria, priest scholars taught astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and spiritual sciences. These schools weren't open only to Egyptians. Greek philosophers like Pythagoras, Plato, and Solon had also studied here. According to Josephus, Egypt was regarded as the wisdom center of the world during that period. Among the most striking recently discovered papyri is a document from the Coptic monastery dating to the 3rd century AD. This text speaks of someone it calls the young Hebrew teacher. The events described and the characterizations align remarkably with Jesus' known attributes. We can understand the shock priest Maximos experienced while translating this document, because the text describes this young man not only receiving knowledge, but displaying abilities that amazed even his Egyptian masters. According to the papyrus text, a youth of approximately 15 years comes to the Heliopolis temple. This young man, clearly of Jewish origin, initially says he has only come to listen, but soon he begins asking questions that will astonish the priests. From sections attributed to High Priest Amenhotep's journal, obviously a code name, these lines appear. This child seems to possess prior knowledge. He understands what we teach him more deeply. There's a strange light in his eyes. The young student shows extraordinary talent, especially in healing arts. He absorbs techniques Egyptian priests had practiced for centuries within months. But he doesn't merely imitate, he develops these techniques, making them more effective. The most striking section in the text concerns the youth's first miracle. A paralyzed child is brought to the temple. The priests try to heal using traditional methods but fail. Then, the young student steps forward and heals the child simply by placing his hands upon him. This event creates great excitement in the temple, because such healing had never been witnessed before. The priests realize this cannot be explained by medical knowledge alone. The young student doesn't learn only healing in Egypt. He is also taught secret texts called the Mysteries of Thoth. These documents contain knowledge about the structure of the universe and the use of spiritual forces known only to the most elite priests. According to the papyrus, the youth changes as he learns this knowledge. It's as if a different light begins to shine from within him. He completely separates from other students, and the priests begin to believe he is chosen. The most critical section concerns the youth receiving special training about conquering death. Egyptian priests believe death is merely a transition, that the soul is eternal. But this young student is taught even more than this. He is shown ways to gain control over life and death. At this point, the text becomes very mysterious. It speaks of a transformation that even the priests don't fully understand. The youth seems to have reached a different level. The young student, who remained in Egypt for approximately 3 years, finally says the time has come to leave. The priests try to persuade him to stay because they don't want to lose someone so talented. But the youth says, "My duty lies elsewhere." Before departing, he speaks these words to the priests: "I will take what I've learned here to my own people. I will teach them the true nature of the one God." This statement greatly surprises the priests, because Egyptians believe in a polytheistic system. But the youth says he has used the knowledge he learned to reach the one truth. The farewell scene is described very movingly in the papyrus. All the temple priests gather to send off the youth. The high priest gives him a seal and says, "You are no longer one of us, you are the chosen one himself." The youth sets off toward the lands where Jews live. The priests never see him again, but his story is told in the temple for years. When we compare this story with Jesus' known life, we see surprising similarities. The Gospels tell that Jesus began teaching his people at age 30, exactly when he supposedly returned from Egypt. Jesus' teachings have many common points with Egyptian wisdom. His expertise in healing, his spiritual powers, and his claim to conquer death are particularly noteworthy. Moreover, some of Jesus' parables seem taken directly from Egyptian mythology. The saying, "I am the way, the truth, and the life," shows parallels with Osiris's story of resurrection from death. Modern archaeology is also uncovering findings that support these theories. Among papyri recently found in Egypt are texts that speak of teachers from the East. So how does the Church view this subject? Official Catholic teaching says that speculation about Jesus' lost years is dangerous, because this might create doubt about Jesus' divine nature. But it's known that documents on this subject exist in Vatican archives. During Pope John XXIII's time in the 1960s, some sensitive documents were moved to deep archives. What these documents contain is unknown, but historians think they might relate to Jesus' early life. An interesting detail: some early church fathers speak of Jesus possessing Egyptian knowledge, but they usually interpret these statements allegorically. Of course, the Egypt theory isn't the only option. There are other theories about Jesus' lost years: the India theory, the Essenes theory, the Britain theory. Each has its own evidence, but the Egypt theory's strongest point is geographical proximity. Traveling from Palestine to Egypt was very normal in that period. Moreover, there was a strong Jewish community in Egypt. Jesus' family had even lived in Egypt for a time. An important point: these theories don't reject Jesus' divine nature. They simply try to understand how his human side developed. How does modern science approach this subject? First, it must be noted that reaching definitive conclusions about historical figures is very difficult, but we can objectively evaluate the evidence we have. Experts agree on the authenticity of the papyrus texts. C14 tests show these are genuinely from ancient times, but proving the truth of the stories they contain is another matter. Archaeologist Dr. Rebecca Thompson, obviously a code name, makes this comment: "These documents at least show that early Christians believed different stories about Jesus. This could be a sign that the official Gospels don't tell the complete story." The subject of Jesus' lost years will probably never be fully clarified, but the clues we have at least help us evaluate possibilities. The Egypt theory seems logical because geographical proximity exists. Egypt was an educational center in that period. Traces of Egyptian wisdom appear in Jesus' later teachings. Newly discovered documents provide clues in this direction. But of course, this isn't definitive proof, just a strong possibility. What's important is this. These investigations don't diminish Jesus' greatness. On the contrary, they help us understand his preparation process. If he really studied in Egypt, this shows how seriously he prepared. In the end, whatever the truth may be, Jesus Christ is a figure who changed history. The mystery of his lost years may never be solved, but continuing to research sheds light on history's dark pages. What does this mysterious story make you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. In the next video, we'll discover another historical mystery. Believe me, truth is far more interesting than fiction.